€200. That's absent, big papa. Hey, Tim's outside.
How do you shoot a low-budget movie in one of the most expensive places to film in the United States? I had asked Whittier College's administration to film in an area called Club 88 on campus, but after emailing back and forth with Shauna Sobers about it, on January 15th, she denied the request, saying that it conflicted with the Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration. However, I was a little confused by that reason because I was requesting to use it 2 days before the MLK Day celebration. In fact, the Office of Communications had asked me to record that celebration event. So how could my shooting time conflict with an event that I was working 2 days afterwards? I figured it was just an easy way for the college to say no, and I realized I had to look for other options. I did end up shooting some scenes at Whittier College, but I just made sure the administration wasn't aware of what I was doing, but yeah, we'll get to that later. But at that point, I was getting worried because we'd already locked in the shoot dates for the Carpe Diem scenes, but without Club 88, we no longer had a location to shoot them in. But on January 18th, that all changed. Auggie Mares was a filmmaker I met in college. He was a senior when I was a freshman, and he believed in my vision for the film. He became the location scout for Carpe Diem's US production days, and he found a club in Hollywood that would let us shoot during the day for 8 hours for $400. I didn't really like the idea of paying that much money, especially when Club 88 would have been free, but I bit the bullet because I doubted we'd be able to find a better option, and I wanted to respect the work that Auggie had done, and I'm sure glad I did. That evening, Auggie Mares drove me into Hollywood to scout out a place called the Karma Lounge, and I realized that this was actually pretty cool. Not only did the club look great, it was also less than 2 miles from Paramount Studios. I'd legitimately be able to say we shot part of Carpe Diem in Hollywood, and I liked the sound of that. Now, to shoot the club scene, we needed people to be holding drinks, but showing company labels in a movie can get you into a little hot water legally, so Colin and I woke up at 4 a.m. on January 19th to wash the labels off of a whole bunch of empty beer bottles. We did this in the Stauffer dorm bathroom, and I took this video while we did it.
Mr. McDowell, would you please explain what you're doing?
I'm stripping the labels from beer bottles so that we can use them in the movie without fear of copyright infringement.
How many of these are there?
36.
It's quite a number, isn't it?
Quite a number indeed.
Unfortunately, campus safety, aka Campo, actually got us in trouble because of that. We'd put the bottles back into a cardboard 30 rack so we could transport them to the club for the scene, and Campo did a random inspection of my friend's dorm room and tried to charge him $1,000 for having alcohol on campus because he wasn't 21. My academic advisor, Professor Rich Cheatham, even wrote a letter to campus safety explaining the situation, stating that all alcohol had been cleaned out of the bottles before they'd been stored in the dorm room. However, campus safety strong-armed us in the situation and replied that we should have left the bottles at the campus safety office until use, and said that because we were filmmakers, if we didn't want to pay the $1,000 fine, we would have to make a video about the Whittier College campus alcohol policy. We waited as long as possible to make that video, so I'll talk about that a few months from now. But later that morning, I believe it was Alex Hackworth who drove Colin and I to the Karma Lounge. This would be what felt like the most professional set in the entire film. Alex had asked his high school friends Elyse Thomas, Cole Nelson, and Steve Nevin to come help, and they became the hair and makeup artist, AC Swing, and gaffer respectively, and I was very grateful for that. We cast both speaking roles and extras from a casting website called Backstage.com, as well as a singer and musician, and they all showed up to fill out the party scenes, and we had stacks of waivers for people to sign. Alex and I had both brought the majority of the equipment we owned so we could do a 2-camera shoot, and we had lights, gels, microphones, and more, so it really felt like we'd stepped things up a notch. I'd put together a shooting script that fit almost every club scene we needed into one packed 8-hour day, so we tried to maximize the time we had and get as much coverage as possible with the 2 cameras. Aaron Shee had even taken the train down from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo so he could be there for the shoot. We all showed up around 9 a.m. and introduced a lot of the crew to each other that hadn't met before, and then we started moving things around, getting actors checked in, and getting the cameras ready. We got all our equipment and lighting set up for the London club scene first, and I positioned everyone so it looked like a club that had a lot of people in it, or at least enough people. Aaron even managed to hook his phone up to the speaker system so we could get everyone dancing to the same beat before we had to turn it off to record dialogue. By 11:52 that morning, we got our first shot of the day, a wide shot of the beginning of the club scene. We moved quickly because at 12:05, someone recorded Alex and I behind the cameras just before we shot the close-ups on Aaron and Colin.
Hey, would you like to dance?
I have a boyfriend. Sorry.
Same shit, new city.
Watch this.
Is she hotter than me? Would you fuck me? Are you gay?
We got lucky enough to have the singer and songwriter from Kazakhstan, Zaza Alisheva, on set with us. So we also got a shot of Zaza performing the song Dance as if she was the live performer at the club. That was one of her original songs, and she agreed to appear in the movie performing the song and let us use the music in that scene. That really added a lot to the production value and added a lot to the scene, in my opinion. After that, we rearranged people so it looked like the party had died down for the night, and we got a quick behind-the-scenes video of me setting up the scene.
The way to do it is after you reject him, because you're dancing around this area, and then you'll turn and look at him, and he'll get your close-up here, and then you can turn and walk off in between these cameras. And and if you just kind of stop once you get here, because it's not really anywhere to go, I think that'll...
I'd cast Maria Eskew for the small speaking role in that scene. I was always happy to feature an actor or actress when I could so that they had more to add to the reels. And I wanted to make sure that the people who'd shown up got something out of this. So I tried to include lines and close-ups for as many people as possible.
You should dance with me.
Sorry, I'm really not that desperate.
Perfect.
But that was the end of that scene, so next we set up for scene 76, which is when Jack and Ross talk about Julia and relationships while taking shots of vodka in a bar or calmer club setting in Barcelona. Remember, we only had this space from 9 to 5, so the clock was ticking at all times. At 1:22, we got another behind-the-scenes shot as Elyse got us ready for that scene.
Yeah, DP's on class this gets filmed for
Okay, Colin.
Sorry.
I'm gonna point at the real that's the point.
I can't see.
I know.
Really? So you know how to do it stuff?
Not like this.
We needed makeup because we were using stronger lights to show that this was a different location, and skin often looks too shiny under strong lights without makeup and powder. But once we were all ready, we shot this scene of Jack and Ross talking about relationship issues, and I didn't hold back in that scene. I had written truthfully and honestly about my experience of coming to terms with the fact that Selena wasn't coming back to the US, and my frustrations with that after over a year of holding on to the hope of us being together again. I thought about the tears over Skype, the crushes I'd developed on other people but tried to ignore, and suddenly this wasn't acting at all. This was just how I actually felt. In Scene 3, Episode 19, I mentioned that you can make something more personal to make it more impactful, and this was another example of that. The emotions were real as I delivered the lines I'd written.
It's great that she got a job. I just wish it was back in the US. For me.
Perhaps the truest and most honest public expression of my emotions in my entire life. I hoped that people would be able to connect with that experience and take solace in the fact that they weren't alone in feeling like that. And I felt better about the situation than I had in a long time. It felt like there was maybe a positive that could come from it. We finished the dialogue from that scene by 2 p.m., so 3 hours left, and then we prepared to get inserts of different women around the club that Jack and Ross had been looking at throughout that scene. I knew it wasn't totally necessary to show who our characters were looking at, but it was an opportunity to feature the other performers who'd shown up that day. We got a shot of a popular girl played by Lizzie Shipton, a woman interested in Jack played by Leslie Alas, and one of a woman reading played by Elyse Thomas, our makeup artist for the day, so it didn't look like we were using the same people in every club and bar scene, even though we basically were. By then, it was 2:22 p.m., and we were setting up for a club dancing scene. We brought down the lights a little bit and had everyone dancing as if they were on a packed dance floor. This was the intro to Barcelona in the film, and we had a little fun going around shooting what we could of that. We were doing pretty well on time, so after we got the group shots, we set up an area to feature solo dancers, because again, I was grateful that everyone was willing to come out and act in this film for free, so I wanted to give them as much screen time as possible. I believe Kayla Pentico, Lizzie Shipton, and Morgan Lee were all featured there, and then we finished that scene with Aaron getting a solo dance shot as well. At 3 p.m., with only 2 hours left, we released a lot of the actors now that we'd gotten all the big group stuff shot, thanked everyone who'd come out that day, and then turned our attention to the last scene of the day, the Paris strip club scene. Our energy was fading by then, and someone got a shot of Aaron finishing a bag of Doritos at 3:46 p.m., reminding us that we hadn't eaten all day and would need to wrap up soon, although we were still driven by the fact that we were shooting real scenes for a feature film in Hollywood, California. At 3:52, an hour and 8 minutes left, I started showing the blocking to our 3 actors in the strip club scene. Colin, Morgan Lee, and an actor we'd hired specifically to be the bartender, Timm Saxton.
You're gonna walk in. You're gonna land.
Did you burp? Yeah.
I've been perfect.
Okay. You're gonna go up here. You're gonna whisper something to him, and it's gonna be, "This guy's an idiot." No. You're gonna say, "Try the usual." Which
To him?
yeah, to him. You're gonna say, "Try the usual" in the whisper.
And then I'll whisper.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna call into like, where are you going? And he's like,
And the usual is going to be
Somewhere else.
break of giving a really expensive drink.
Okay.
Right. So that's the undertone behind it.
Okay.
So then you're gonna walk off
All right.
this way, and then he's gonna say his line, which is, I believe it's.
What can I get you?
Oh, what would you like? Or
Like,
something.
what bar would you like, actually?
That's
Alright, it's what'll it be? Then you'll lean in and say two of the usual. And then you'll say,
Come in.
yeah,
You got it.
okay. So that's the intro to this scene.
Start in front of the wire. Or do I have to step over it?
Yeah, we should see you walking through.
Then Aaron fell asleep at a booth in a corner of the room because he'd woken up at 2 or 3 a.m. in order to take the train and arrive by the call time. So I took over as camera operator since Aaron was asleep, so Alex Hackworth and I were the 2 camera ops for that final scene. We got our first shot at 3:58 p.m., so basically 1 hour left, and that was the master shot of the strip club scene.
One for you and one for the mademoiselle.
Will be.
We were trying to use time effectively, so at 4:10 p.m. we said something like, all right, we got to divide and conquer here. So I went outside to get the intro to that scene while Alex was handling the lighting setup that needed to be adjusted inside. We ended up needing VFX on the outdoor shot since it was still daytime, but it worked out at the end. Luckily, we had a great VFX artist, so I don't think anyone could even tell it was actually shot during the day. Only 7 minutes after that, we were back inside to shoot the rest of the scene. We got the dialogue between Jack Card and the bartender, and the drink pouring shots pretty easily. We used lime Powerade as our absinthe, and I thought Timm was perfect for that role.
Feel that vacation.
Then we moved on to the dance routine. We let Morgan Lee, the woman who performed the role, do her own choreography, whatever dance she wanted to do, so that she never felt pressured into doing anything that she didn't feel comfortable with. In my opinion, it ended up classy yet seductive. There was no nudity, no clothes came off at all, and yet the viewer might feel their heart rate increase a little. I could tell that some of the crew had their hearts beating a little faster than usual, so I hoped that meant the audience would have a similar reaction when watching the film, so they could understand how and why Jack Card was flustered and not really thinking straight. I yelled cut once I thought we'd gotten enough shot, looked over the footage of the day on the camera's playback to make sure I was confident we had everything we needed, and I felt a weight drop off my shoulders as I realized we'd gotten every scene shot that was on the schedule. At that point, we had everything we really needed, but we thought we could bolster the intro to that final scene, so we went back outside and grabbed a few more shots so it felt like we'd added some good context to the situation, and given Morgan Lee a few more lines.
Excusez-moi, monsieur. Why don't you come inside?
And so, at 4:50 p.m., 10 minutes before our 8 hours was up, that was a wrap on Carpe Diem in Hollywood. That felt very good. We'd managed to get everything shot, with some adjustments along the way, and actually more footage than we'd expected. I tried to feature every person that showed up, although, to be honest, some of that ended up on the cutting room floor, so to speak. But I'd given everyone an opportunity at least, and I was happy about that. One of my favorite fun facts from that day was that our bartender, Timm Saxton, had been an actor in Soul Plane. And I thought Soul Plane was a hilarious classic, so I was very proud that we had an actor in common with it, even if it wasn't a main role. Looking back on it, I think the main lesson I learned was that it's always better to get something real rather than try to fake it. Because we were able to do things with lighting, music, and backgrounds that we'd never have been able to do on campus in Club 88. So shout out to Auggie for getting us a location that felt real because it was real. I mean, look at this shot of the bar. We would never have been able to get even 3 bottles of liquor into Club 88, but we had dozens here. Anyway, tune in next week to see how we managed to get in another party before we shot more scenes for Carpe Diem.